Hey guys, it's Simon and welcome back to another video about LibGDX, and this time because some people in the last Slime Survivor video asked about how you can actually share your game with other people and also how to run your game in the web. I wanted to make a short video exactly about that because there were also some comments in previous tutorial series where people asked that, and I never really covered it because in my opinion, it's very straightforward. There's not a lot that I can show here or talk about it. But first of all, let's start IntelliJ and also open up our Slime Survivor game from the last time. And in our project, since we use gdx-liftoff, we actually have something in our desktop backend, so the LWGDX module in our build Gradle file. There you see that we use something which is called construo. So construo is actually the thing that I will also add the link in the video description below if you want more details about it. But this is actually the tool that we are going to use to build our game. And in very simple terms, how does it work? It simply downloads a Java runtime or JDK, I think, for you, depending on what kind of download link you provided. By default in gdx-liftoff, it's Java version 17. But since we use Java version 25, we need to update these links in a moment. And other than that, there is not a lot that you need to do. So when you go to your desktop module and then under construo, there are then several Gradle tasks, and the ones which are important are the package tasks. So I am currently running on a Windows machine and I can build, I think, almost anything. Not sure if I can build also the Mac files. I'm not 100% sure, but basically you just run one of these tasks. So package Windows x64, and then it will download the JDK. It creates, for Windows, it creates the exe file. It bundles your game together, and then you can simply distribute the created zip file and send it to your friends or upload it to a website or whatever. But again, as mentioned, if we run it, we should face an error. Let's see. Yes, and as expected, so we get an error. So JLink version 25 does not match target Java base version 17. And where does that come from? So as mentioned, let's close that up a little bit to have the focus on the correct piece of code. And it's down here. So there's a construo section for the build Gradle file in the LWGDX module, and there you have the different download links as you can see here, and by default gdx-liftoff applies here the Java version 17. So Java version 17 and below will automatically work, but since we picked 25, since it's the current latest stable version of Java, and I wanted to have a tutorial with the latest version, even if I'm not even sure if we used any features of Java 25. But anyway, obviously we need to update here the links because those are the links where construo is downloading the different files, and in the repository of Slime Survivor, there you will find the correct links, and I will simply update those now. And to give you one example, so for Linux, for example, it looks like this. So it's then Temurin 25 instead of 17, then it's the Java version 25.02 instead of 17.0.15, and then some gibberish, and at the end there is the version number again. And yeah, you find these links when you go to, when you find that on GitHub with the different Adoptium, Temurin binaries and the releases. There you find for the different versions all the different files which are available, and then just update it to the version that you really need. Again, if you are happy with Java version 17, there is nothing that you need to change. But if you want to go with a newer version, also in the future, maybe you watch this video in 2 or 3 years and I don't know which Java version will be available there, then you need to update the links there. Unless LibGDX, gdx-liftoff already provided then a possibility to update these links. I gave that already as a feedback to the guy, but not sure what he can do here, if he can optimize that. Anyway, so now we have the updated links. So we simply refresh now our Gradle project once more. And once that is done, we can click the package Windows task again, which again downloads then the JDK version. In our case, for Windows 64, it will download that specific Adoptium version that we provided here, and then it will also package the file, create exe files and things like that. One minor thing which might be important or interesting to know, so this line here is commented out, so use console set to true. If you enable that, then when you start your game, after you bundle it with construo, it will also open up a console in the background, and then you see some debug information or maybe crash information in the console directly. That's it. Okay, so seems like everything was downloaded. And yeah, if we now go to the build area, this is where Gradle always creates all the different files. There's a construo folder, and we will also find here the Win64 folder here. And in here we have now our game. And in the distribution folder, there's also the zip if you want to send that or upload it to a website or send it to your friends. But as an example, let's open up this folder here. And if we now simply double click the exe file, since we are in Windows, it should, yeah, and it does that, it will open up our game. And then we see everything working. And yeah, this is how you can package your game and share it. You can obviously update the logo. There's some configuration for that available in here. If you have a new version, you can also update the version, which I think is in the build Gradle properties file. Yes, here. So there's the project version also available. So if you have a new version, you just update it here, and then the file here will be called 1.0.1. You can also update the generated file name, how it should be created. So there's a lot of configuration available for Construo, and there I would recommend just check out the website, and I add the link in the video description below. Good, then the second thing, since that was rather easy, the second thing is a little bit more complicated, but also not really complicated. But I always mentioned that at the beginning of the tutorial that there you can have different backends or platforms available for a LibGDX game. We only picked the desktop one, but now we want to add also the web platform to run our game in the browser. And what I usually do there is that I, first of all, I simply create a local Git repository. So when you go to the terminal, if you've never used Git, you can just write here Git and init. Now it created an empty Git repository, and there we simply will add all the different files that we have here available. And usually I call it the initial commits, and we just commit it. We don't push it because we haven't shared that on GitHub or wherever, so we just need a local repository. The reason we do that is that I want to have a local backup now, since we run gdx-liftoff once more, but we enable an additional backend, and this will then simply override a couple of the files that we have here, and some of them I want to revert then to the values or the status that we have right now or version, and some others we need a newer version which gets updated by gdx-liftoff. And yeah, to have here an easy way to revert something, I usually just use a local Git repository, commit it, and then do the changes. And yeah, again, so we will now start gdx-liftoff once more. In Liftoff, you should see then most of the settings from the last time. It remembers that somewhere in a file locally. And what we want to change here is under platforms, where we just had desktop and core. Now we want to add one additional one, which is called HTML teavm. I would recommend this one. There's another one, HTML for JWT, so for the Google Web Toolkit. But I read from a lot of people that it is a little bit complicated and not so easy to get it to run. Also some compatibility issues. So the more modern approach, and in my opinion easier approach, is to use teavm, because that one also, if you would write your game in Kotlin, then you can also use teavm here. So it works for Java, Kotlin, Scala as well. And yeah, we just picked that one. We update the version again to 25 because that was the one that we have used. And now the folder, I think this is not the correct folder. It was Slime Survivor YouTube, exactly. And now when we generate the project once more, it did everything. And when we go back to the IDE, we can check out again now the different changes. So there we see a couple of files got changed with that. And we don't want everything to get changed. So let's quickly go through all the different files step by step. So in the core module, it removed the free type dependency, which we need for our font rendering. We added that manually later on, so we will revert that. Then under the desktop build Gradle file, it also removed the free type font, free type platform, which we need as a dependency. And it also reverted the download links of construo again. So we don't want that. So also in this file, we simply roll back. Next one is the build Gradle file in the root. And there we can see it added an additional repository. So the teavm repository, because this is where the teavm dependencies or the artifacts are located and where we are going to download that. So we keep this one. The game class, we simply reverted. So whatever it did there, we want to have our game class back. In the property files, it added an additional property for the teavm version, which currently is 1.4.0. The newest one would be 1.5.1. There's a little bit more work and things to do, but I guess in the new gdx-liftoff version, it will then go to version 1.5.1. But for our simple game, it doesn't really matter. We can stick to 1.4.0 and that's it. Gradle daemon properties, I personally have no idea what exactly that is, but I see that it changed something from 25 to 17 for whatever reason, so we will roll that back. Launcher class, there also we made some changes with the resolution of the window mode. Also that one we don't want to revert. In the README file, it added the information of the teavm platform. We can keep that. I think we did not really do anything with the README file, so it doesn't really matter. And finally, under the settings Gradle file, they had added the teavm module as well. And then we got 4 extra files. So because when we check it out here, we see now here under LWJGL3, we have another teavm module, so a separate folder. And that one contains the build Gradle file. So this is everything that we need to run our teavm backend. We have a logo file, which I think is used in the browser tab, if I remember correctly. No, sorry, this is the normal libgdx logo in the assets folder, which we removed. So we can also remove that again. It was just recreated once more. And then we have a teavm builder and a teavm launcher class. And what is that? So the builder class, to explain that a little bit to you, it's a little bit with Gradle setup, and you don't really need to know it to run your game, but just that you heard of it and know what is happening in the background. So what we have for teavm, we have a separate Gradle task, which is called a build JavaScript. And that one, as you can see here, it executes a Java class because it's a task of type Java execute. And it runs the main class of the project, which is defined up here. So it runs this teavm builder class. And for that, it runs the main method. And what does this builder class do in the main method? It simply does some configuration work. So it tells the teavm backend and the compiler, where is our assets folder? So it's in the root under assets. Where should it create the final artifact again for the web? So that would be under build and then distribution. We can specify a target type, which per default is here JavaScript, but I would recommend that you use WebAssembly. It's the more modern target type and gives you a little bit of a better performance. It's mentioned here also in the comments from what I see here. We will just update it here and change it to WebAssembly instead of JavaScript. JavaScript was the original target type, but the newer one is WebAssembly. And in my opinion, it works better and gives you a better performance. Yeah, and then it just sets a main class and everything, some obfuscation, if the created JavaScript, the variable should have different names than the original Java code, things like that. And there's just some configuration stuff in here. And in the end, it creates then this JavaScript or WebAssembly package that you can then run in the browser. And then there's also the launcher. There you can then configure, for example, the width and the height of your game. I would stick here to 0 and 0. Then it will just use the available space in the browser. And in here you see then, similar to the desktop launcher that we have, it starts an T application. There we pass in our GDX game. So this is then our game class again, and some configuration as a second parameter. And that's it. So let's refresh our Gradle project once more. And what we need to do now, so under the teavm module, there we have this build JavaScript task and also a run task. And the run task, if I remember correctly, also automatically executes the build JavaScript. We can check that out here. So the build itself depends on build JavaScript, and we have a run task, and that one also depends on the build JavaScript, and also a task named chatty run. So this will locally run then a chatty server where the teavm or the HTML and the JavaScript stuff is then hosted on your local machine. So this run task is the run task here that we are now going to execute. And I actually forgot something, because we used a free type as an extension. We need to add something again here, otherwise it won't work. So there's a special free type dependency also for teavm. So we can duplicate this line, and here it should be gdx free type minus teavm and then the teavm version. And one other minor thing is in the launcher, in the configuration, there we also need to add one line to have the support for the free type font. There we need a preload listener, and there we simply get in an asset loader. And from this asset loader, we load a script, which is called freetype.js. So JavaScript file, and that's it. So now let's go back to our Gradle task and run it once more. So now there's a lot of information in the console about the compilation process and what it's doing. In the end, it always runs then this local chatty on port 8080 per default, and we can now click on it. So to get to the localhost 8080, where we get a loading information, and then we see our game in the browser. And also here we can run it, but as you can see, there is something not working as it was in the desktop version. So our background is missing. It's just dark. And the reason for that is that in our configuration here, we can also set an experimental feature, which is called here use GL30. And we need to set that here to true. So basically, it's the more modern approach. It's a little bit documented here to use WebGL2 in your browser instead of the default one, which is OpenGL ES2 standard. And with GL2 standard, it seems like there are certain features missing. So from my understanding, I'm not an expert there, but most likely the texture wrapping is not working because the UV mapping cannot be the reason, because then LibGDX wouldn't work at all. I could assume that this texture wrapping information that we provided for the background doesn't work with the GL2 standard. So we need here the GL3 standard. And yeah, with using here use GL30, if we go back now to our game, then the background is rendered correctly again. So then this wrapping and tiling of the background is then working. And that's it. So this is the way how you can run your game in the browser. So with teavm, so basically you don't need to write anything new. You can keep the core. That's the beauty of LibGDX, that you just write your code once in the core project, and then you just add additional launchers to it. And yeah, there's always, of course, some platform-specific things, but in the end, you just write your code once and then run it anywhere. That's the beauty of it. And yeah, that's it. I think there is not a lot more. So to summarize it once more, the default way to package your game would be with construo. in a gdx-liftoff project. There you can simply build your game for any platform with the Gradle tasks which were provided, where it automatically downloads and bundles then the JDK so that your users don't need to do that if you don't have the correct Java version installed. And to run it in the browser, I personally would suggest to use teavm for that, as you see here. And obviously, of course, then if you want to run that somewhere else, like for example, I hosted a couple of my games on GitHub itself, and there you can then use the result of teavm. So what we find here under build, and it was distribution, the web app folder here, that part here, you can host then, for example, on a GitHub page, and then you can host your game for free on GitHub if it's open source. And you can obviously use any other web server as well where you want to host it, but this is how it works. And for local testing, it uses here a Chatty at a specific port, and then just run that in your browser, and that's it. Okay, I hope that helped some of you out there. Have a nice rest of the weekend, and bye-bye.